So hi, like they said, I'm Julie, and I'm just absolutely thrilled to be here with you guys tonight. And I just have to say a big thank you to Warwick's. It's amazing that we have this independent bookstore, and I hope that we continue to always support them. I have to confess that even though I sometimes download things on my Kindle, I always come in here and purchase books anyway. So use me as an example. Okay, so last week I was in Port Townsend, Washington, and when we left Seattle, we were on Alaska Air, and we were sitting in row 29, which is never a happy place to be for anybody. I don't think I sound like a Jap saying that, but it's not fun. And I was in the middle of 3 seats. And many of you who know me know that I have a terrible pain in my tush because I have sciatic pain. And being in the middle of 3 seats, I couldn't wiggle off my tush. So I was using my mindful methods, I was going into the pain, I was going near the pain, I was putting my hand on my heart and telling myself, Julie, sweetheart, it's going to be okay, you're not on this plane forever. These are all things you're going to learn tonight. You're not on this plane forever, it's going to get better. I was near the pain, I was next to the pain, the whole pain thing got annoying. And then Lowell and I, my husband Lowell, who's in the back, Lowell and I were watching a TV show, on his iPad, and totally focused to distract me from the pain. And that was working for a while. And then the baby sitting in the row in front of us started crying, but she wasn't really crying. She was like somebody was chopping her arms off. She was inconsolably wailing. And she wasn't really a baby, she was more like a toddler, right? So my normal human mind, sitting with the pain in my butt in the airplane, immediately went like, oh no, not that too. But I used my mindful methods. So what did I do? So what I did was, I caught my brain from that, oh no, not this also, and I poured compassion out of my chest onto the mom and the baby. I mean, so much so, I was like in my mind just, oh, may she have ease, may she be safe, may she be happy, her poor little ears might hurt. So much so that I actually felt like I had a V of like superpower, compassion, and love coming out of my chest, surrounding the 2 seats in front of me. And next thing I knew, I woke up. So what was interesting was I fell asleep during that baby wailing, because in the front of my awareness was compassion and love, and in the back of my awareness was the baby getting her arms chopped off. They weren't really getting chopped off, but that's how she sounded. So that's loving kindness meditation in a nutshell, and it's super cool, and it's super easy to learn, and we're going to do it right now. So follow me, everybody. Let's take one big breath in and let it out through your mouth. Now close your eyes, or if that freaks you out, just look down. And I want you to call to mind an image of a being that makes you happy. And when I say being, it can be a pet. It can be your dog or your cat. I use Madeline all the time, my Briard. So you're calling to mind an image. A lot of people use grandchildren because it's like such a pure, unconditional, without baggage kind of thing. You're calling an individual to mind, and you're seeing their eye color, their skin tone, their fur color, if it's a pet. And then in your mind, you're wishing them these gorgeous wishes. May you be safe. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live your life with ease. And when your mind wanders, you just gently bring it back. You've got this image of this being that makes you smile. And these wishes, may you be safe, may you be happy, may you be healthy, and may you live with ease. And now you get to add yourself to that photo? Wow. Okay. So feel how good it feels to be with that being, and the phrases, of course, become we. May we be safe. May we be happy. May we be healthy. And may we live with ease. Just as all beings wish to be safe and free from suffering, so do we. May it be so. And now gently open your eyes and come back to me. Hi, everybody. So now we're really all on the same place, right? That just sort of, that's pretty cool. Now, if I was actually leading a loving kindness meditation, it would have gone on for 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes, but I didn't want to do that to you guys because I'm not sure that you'd like it. But you can go on Balanced Mind with Julie Potiker or on the Insight Timer. Both of those things are free, and you can look up loving kindness meditation or metta meditation, and you can try it, and you can try to get that. Eventually you'll feel in your body what it feels like. You can try to get that like heart open, radiating love thing, and it's a little bit addictive in a good way, right? It's good for us. So with a show of hands, I'm wondering, has anybody here tonight ever felt stress? Okay. How about anxiety? Any anxiety in the house? Depression in the house? Any grief or pain? You don't have to put your hand up, but you can. Okay. So if somebody kept their hand down that whole time, they would be a robot, right? Because this is humanity. We can't escape it. So the Buddha says we make our own hell by wishing things were different than they are. But as a human being, I always wonder who doesn't have to work at letting go of that stuff? Who doesn't have to work at letting go of disappointment? They didn't get the job promotion they wanted, or their boyfriend left them, or their husband walked out on them, or they're sick, or they had to have surgery. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of surus out there, which means heartache in Yiddish. And we need to learn how to deal with all of it and still have a happy life. And I'm not even talking about what's going on in America. People are very upset politically right now, no matter what your politics are. The amount of vitriol and hate, all of that toxic stuff, we need to figure out how to let that go because it's not healthy. So how do we do it? How do we build a meaningful life where we experience joy amidst all that suffering, love amidst the mess, and calm in the chaos? And I'm here with you tonight to be with you, to serve you basically, and show you how to do that and tell you how I've done it. So it takes practice. Daily remembering to remember to pause. And when you remember to pause, you can make a more skillful reaction. But you need to learn all the tools in your toolbox so that you can pull the tool when you need it. And that's what I'm here to kind of illustrate to you, is what some of these tools are. Loving kindness meditation, you just learned one of the tools, and I'm going to teach you a couple more tools before the talk is over. When I was studying Musar, which is ancient but totally relevant, it's an ancient Jewish system of working to balance your core values. I had 3x5 cards around my environment, like in my bathroom, my car, my nightstand. We were working with the core value of patience, and I had a quote, "Open up a space between the match and the fuse." And that was to remind me during the day have some patience. Now, I could work on that one core value my whole life and never get it right, right? I don't know what right is, but the point is it's a practice. Some of these things are doozies. Meditation is another practice, and it takes practice. But science has validated meditation. So that's why it's been in the news so much for the last couple of years. People have been doing meditation for thousands of years in other populations, and we're just now at this fantastic point where science has validated this stuff is really good for you and you ought to do it. So unless you've been in a cave with a news blackout for the last couple weeks, you would have heard of the Thai boys in the cave, right? So did anybody happen to see why they did so well? Meditation, right? Their soccer coach had been a Buddhist monk.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So he taught them how to meditate while they were waiting to be rescued. So that's how they stayed calm. That's mindfulness. Then I said to her, this is meditation. I'm going to focus my attention on my breath for a few moments, but it could have been, I could pick a stone, a phrase, a word, my feet, but I'm just going to focus on my breath going into my body and my breath going out of my body. That's meditation. So what those two things have in common is you're not ruminating and worrying when you're doing those things. That's the whole point, to give your brain a break, right? We're wired to ruminate and we're wired to worry. That's what kept us alive. But if you have constant worrying and ruminating going on and all that cortisol for months and months and months and years on end, it'll make you sick. So luckily we've got these tools to teach us how to downregulate all that. And meditation is one of the biggest tools that you can learn to teach you to downregulate that. And it's really super easy. Okay, so the year I graduated high school, which was 1979, if you guys are all doing the math, I'm 57. A young, courageous doctor in Boston who was trying to ease the pain of patients at the pain clinic at the University of Massachusetts came up with something called MBSR, Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction. He and a bunch of other spiritual seekers had gone to India in the 60s, and they came back, and he stripped all the Buddhism off, all the religion off of meditation, and he created this 8-week class to try to help people alleviate their pain. So, I don't think that he had any idea 40 years later, it's now almost 40 years, where we would all be, and we would all be like kind of talking his talk. He's just always been talking this talk. So because it's 40 years old, there's gazillions of studies proving its efficacy because we want to know that it works. We want the science. And I can say as a former lawyer, I want the science. I'm not that new age and woo-woo. I want to know. I'm going to spend my time. I want it to work. And if I'm going to teach it, I want to be able to explain why it works. So little did I know how grateful I would be for Jon Kabat-Zinn's work. When my identical twin girls were in middle school, I started to lose my mind. The neurologist that I went to in order to rule out a brain tumor did a complete exam, imaging studies, and a psychosocial exam. Did you hear me say psycho? I know it's psych. I just felt like a psycho. Every time the wrong word came out of my mouth, it would completely flip me out. Cappuccino instead of cappuccino, maginal instead of magical, bunky burvy, which like became part of the lexicon of the Potiker family because it was so weird, instead of topsy-turvy, and on and on. My brain scans were normal. So what was going on in my life, this doctor wanted to know. What was my life like? I said, well, I have 3 teenagers with ADHD. That's one thing that's not fun when kids are in school. The only kid with boots on the ground for my folks. I have a full complement of leadership stuff. And he said, your brain's in overdrive. You don't have a brain tumor. You just have too much going on in your brain. Have you ever heard of Jon Kabat-Zinn? I said, no. Have you ever heard of mindfulness-based stress reduction? No. Okay, this is what you need. You need to do this, and it's going to help you. So his name was Dr. Chippendale, which I'll never forget because it's such a great name. But meanwhile, he's of blessed memory, and people who knew him, he was a very well-known neurologist in San Diego, just absolutely adored him. And so he told me what to do. I then signed up for MBSR at UCSD Center for Mindfulness, and it opened up an incredible world of learning for me. I realized when I was taking that class, something is going on here that's humongous in terms of thinking something, you can think something, and you can change your brain, and it can make your body feel differently. Okay, that's interesting. So I have to admit I went a little overboard taking classes online. I took dozens of classes online. And sometimes I think the internet is really evil, like when Kara and Danielle at 7 years old found a site called Nasty Nickelodeon. Not good, right? However, when you look at the online learning that you can find on the World Wide Web, it's quite awesome. I found an online course called the Brain Series, and I took it. And then I found a course called the Compassionate Brain Series, and I took it. And there was this man talking to me from the little square on my laptop, and I realized this man's going to change my life. And then I thought, this man has the ticket to change the whole world. That man's Rick Hanson. All his books are here at Warwick's. Buddha's Brain, Hardwiring Happiness, his Just One Thing newsletter that's free, his new book, Resilience. So I took every class I could with this guy. I feel a little bit like, I have to admit, I sort of am a stalker, but it was all in the service of knowledge. And then I saw that he was teaching a retreat at Spirit Rock on science and meditation, and I went. And that retreat really, there's a direct line from that retreat and me standing here right now. Does that make sense? People are shaking their head like yes, so I'm glad. So I'm a mindful self-compassion teacher, and I was already a mindful self-compassion teacher when I went to meet up in person with Rick Hanson. And mindful self-compassion is a curriculum that's fantastic, and it was written by Germer and Kristin Neff, and I took the class at UCSD, and then I took the teacher training that UCSD ran, but it was with Chris and Kristin. So the thing with MSC, Mindful Self-Compassion, and some of my students are sitting in the audience, the thing with MSC that was bugging me was I wanted to slice and dice the curriculum, and you're not allowed to do that. It has to be the same in Japan and San Diego and Berlin. I mean, it's taught literally all over the world now. The teacher guide is, I think it's translated into 18 languages. So I wanted Rick Hanson stuff in the first lesson because putting in a positive mental state and letting it land and making it a neural trait, that's the coolest thing ever, right? You can make your brain happier, and you can rewire your brain. So if you've got students in your class, tell them that. Tell them that. Don't mention it in class number 8. In class number 1, say to them, listen, every time you're in a meditation and you're feeling awesome, take that in and know that you're rewiring your brain. I mean, I don't think anything's cooler than that. So I sat down with Rick and I shared my frustrations, and he said, just go for it. I don't think anybody's synthesizing, I had Brené Brown stuff from The Gifts of Imperfection before her 2 blockbusters after that. He said, I don't think anybody's doing it, just do it. And then the Center for Mindful Self-Compassion and UCSD Center for Mindfulness gave me their blessing as long as I changed the name of the class. So that, like, somebody taking the class here won't call up somebody in St. Louis and say, oh my God, my favorite meditation was Tonglen, and the person in St. Louis would say, I didn't have that meditation. Like, that's their big worry. So that's kind of like my journey. That's how Mindful Methods was really born. Are you guys still with me, or am I boring you? No? Okay. All right. So I want to do another exercise with you. It's kind of like a Simon Says thing. It's called Soothing Touch, and it's from the Mindful Self-Compassion curriculum. So just do what I do. Put one hand on your face. Both hands. One hand on your heart. Both hands. Both your hands on your belly. Hugging your arms. Hand in hand. Okay, so that's soothing touch. What's unbelievably cool about that is it releases oxytocin and endorphins. So all of a sudden you're feeling activated, hand to heart. Or where is your soothing place? Like there's somebody here in the audience I know because she was my student. I know her soothing place is her belly. So it's not the heart for everybody, but like I'm a little bit of a mashugana with my hand on my heart. Like people that know me see me put my hand on my heart. You know, I must put my hand on my heart a half a dozen times a day. Luckily, I don't watch the news or my hand would just be stuck there, right? Yeah. So I totally went completely off script because I love teaching. So let me see if there's something that I absolutely have to say to you guys. I wanted to read a little piece from the book. Is that okay? Yeah, it's short. It'll bring in a couple other tools. Let me find it. Here it is. Okay, so this is on page 28. Oh, by the way, I changed everybody's names in here. So don't think you know who they are, okay? Unless it says, my kids gave me permission, and then I used their names, which did happen a few times, and they're not here tonight, except Michael's here, but nothing in the book looks too horrible about Michael, so. Okay, Stephanie, putting it all together. Stephanie came to me upset. Her son had gotten kicked out of high school for the second time, this time for drinking at a school dance. She was anxious with worry, fear, and shame. After I made sure she had a good relationship with the therapist, I took her on as a client to teach her mindfulness meditation and compassion practice. The receiving sending meditation that worked so well for me, Mary, and Bill resonated with her. Twice a week for 4 weeks, we met and practiced it. She visualized breathing in the pain of all the moms in the world who were upset or disappointed in their kids. She breathed in all the pain, breathed it into a vast space inside of herself, and breathed out light and love into a vast ocean. She visualized the pain as dark, thick smoke when she breathed it in, and then light and peace when she breathed it out. The sense of spaciousness was very healing for Stephanie. She told me she felt less alone and also lighter after we practiced the sending, receiving, or receiving, sending meditation together. She felt connected to all the other moms in the world whose pain was now mingled with her own. That sense of loving, connected presence is a wonderful buffer to the isolation that was leading her to depression. Stephanie chose a here and now stone from my bag of stones and kept it with her at all times. Whenever her thoughts started to spiral downward, she grabbed her stone and zoned in on the color and the texture of the stone. She kept it in her pocket during the day and on her nightstand at night. It worked for her because she could focus her attention on the stone. When her attention was on the stone, she wasn't dwelling on the troubles with her son. At our first session, I suggested that Stephanie make a list of all the things that give her joy. Then twice a week, when she came in for her session, we went over the list and she shared what she had managed to do each day that made her day a little better. Some of her items were easy to do, like taking a bath with lavender bath salts. She started a nightly bath ritual and even added candles and her favorite music to her bath experience. She also made sure she made it to a yoga class twice a week, and she took a walk twice a week. Her favorite walking spot is a state park in San Diego, which you guys are all familiar with, called Torrey Pines State Reserve. She feels like she's connected to something bigger when she's standing high up on the cliffs looking out at the ocean. And the ocean is the visual that she uses during the receiving sending meditation when she imagines breathing out into the vastness of the sea. Stephanie's doing really well. She's happy and healthy and continues with her therapy. She wishes things were going more smoothly with her son, but she's dealing with the fact that things don't always go the way we wish them to be. And she's okay with that reality. One day I told her that the Buddha said we make our own hell by wishing things were different than they are. And she said, I'm over that. What will be, will be. So that's the end of my little reading part of the book. I have one more example of using mindful methods kind of in real time. A couple weeks ago, I was in my happy place in the produce department at Whole Foods, and my cell phone rang, and it was Michael, my son, and he was really fuming, pissed off, mad. And he was like, I'm just so angry, can I vent? And I said, no. Notice that boundary, okay? That's part of self-care. No, actually, I'm in my happy place at Whole Foods. And he said, oh my God, that's your happy place? I hate it in there. So I said, that's what makes the world go around. Why don't you try to put your face in a bowl of cold water? Do you know if you do that, it's a diving reflex? Absolutely, your heart rate and your blood pressure will plummet. Try it and follow it up with a meditation. So, you know, I'm like now 3 aisles over, kind of looking at the chips that I don't want to buy, and I get this I get a ping, and I look down, and it's a photo of Michael with his head in a bowl of cold water with the caption, works like a charm. So I called him up, and I said, oh my God, that's hysterical. And he said, yeah, I've done it like 4 times. And I said, wait a minute. The instructions were to follow it up with another tool, because otherwise you're just going to think about what made you angry, and the anger will pop back up, and you'll just be bobbing your head all day. So I said, how about walking around the apartment, feeling the soles of your feet for a couple minutes, and then pop in a positive mental state. Remember when we were at the car show at Pebble Beach? It was an amazing day. Like, pull up an image of that and really feel what you felt like that day. The sun was shining. I was there, so I happen to know how gorgeous it was. The sun was shining. There was a cool breeze. Everywhere you looked, there was a car in mint condition. It was like heaven on earth, especially for a car kid, right? So I said, really let that land and feel that, and that's going to be enough to change the channel so the anger won't come back up. So in that real life example, the head in the cold water, that's dialectical behavioral therapy. That's really a thing. It's Marsha Lineman. She was a Zen Buddhist before she created DBT. And then the walking, feeling the soles of your feet thing is Buddhist meditation, but it's every secular meditation you would ever see. And then popping in that positive mental state is Rick Hanson, taking in the good, rewiring your brain for happiness and resilience. So I have brought here and now stones. So, you know, we talked about those in the Stephanie story. I brought here and now stones for all of you because I want you to have a tool, and it's a thank you gift for your presence. I want you to have a tool to take home that's concrete from tonight, so that next time you feel wonky in any way, you can hold the stone in your hand and really consider how it feels. Is there a rough spot on there? Is there a smooth spot on there? You know, look at the color, and it'll break the discursive loop from worrying and ruminating. It should make you feel better. And then hopefully you can use some of the other tools, some of the other mindful methods. And thank you so much for being here tonight, and I'm honored to take your questions.